with our uniquely designed blades and multiple speeds. So the simplest slice is suddenly impressive. The new KitchenAid 13-cup food processor is a lot less processed and way more pro. We only make things for one room, the bathroom, your kitchen, because like you, it's where we shine. Nobody knows the kitchen like KitchenAid.
Iron Chef is a king among chefs.
This is an all-stars competition.
10 of the world's best will enter. Only one will emerge to claim the only title that matters.
The next Iron Chef.
All new Sunday night tonight.
Sometimes you don't know what sounds good is. That's so good, huh? Yeah. So good. I think that's been a whole bunch of these before, but the next thing we're gonna eat, we never had it here ever. I need to go work on the next course. It's our big girl, son. So what you got?
It's time to finish up my root vegetable mash. I'm gonna add the potatoes that I had from the potato skin, about a half cup of butter.
Beautiful.
A cup of 35% cream, always salt and pepper. Alright, on the mash. Look at that beautiful color. Give it a quick taste.
Beautiful.
Time to plate it up. Gonna go family style for me and the guys. Now this will go great with anything from steak and chicken. This stuff, absolutely delicious. I had to add a little color to our dish, so I boiled 2 heads of broccoli, fish them out of there. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper on top. The broccoli, ghee butter. By the time I get to the table, that'll be fully melted. Now my gravy looks good. Beautiful. Look at this beef. Gorgeous. Check it out. Turkey, duck, and chicken. Let's see. Oh, God. God. Is that looking amazing or what? Yeah, big time. Nice walk road bird. So this is tortilla. What are we eating? You gotta take yourself. Okay, awesome, man. Again, go ahead. You can really taste everything. I put a whole couple of them. Couple is awesome. Good, huh? Yeah. Thanks for coming down, guys. But don't get excited. It's got to do this for the taste.
Down to the outside. Here now. It's Ondana, the big sweet meat hearty version of Papa.
I'm hungry. I'm going right there.
I'm having a picnic with some friends today, and I'm going to create a menu that's full of lively flavors, like orzo pasta with sausage, sweet turkey sausage, and roasted bell pepper.
Jack Bishop in the Tasting Lab. Discover the secrets of America's foremost food testers and tasters. Today on America's Test Kitchen. Today on America's Test Kitchen, Chris visits Rick Bayless to learn about his famous empanadas. Then Bridget reveals how to make empanadas at home. And finally, Julia shows Chris how to make perfect pork tostada. That's all right here on America's Test Kitchen. America's Test Kitchen is brought to you by PCX by Fisher & Paykel. America's cooks rely on innovation and culinary precision. PCX by Fisher & Paykel, offering premium indoor and outdoor kitchen appliances.
And by Kohler, inspiring home chefs to create a professional level kitchen with innovative sinks, faucets, and cook centers Kohler.
And by Diamond Crystal Salt, gourmet choice. Culinary education at salt101.com. By Cooking.com, an online retailer for the kitchen enthusiast. If it's not in your kitchen, try ours. Sunsweet, natural dried fruits and juices to help live a healthier life. And by Woodbridge by Robert Mondavi.
This is a story about empanadas. So where in the world would you go to get a private cooking lesson all about empanadas? Chicago, of course. So let's go talk to chef owner of Frontera Grill, Rick Bailey. What is an empanada? What's common among all?
It just refers to the fact that you have a wheat flour crust that goes around some sort of a filling, and it's either deep fried or it's baked. For regular, sort of everyday fare, they're usually meat, but in Mexico, typically not meat, but made with pork.
Sometimes you see cubic meat in empanadas, and sometimes you see ground meat. Is that original?
The cube meat is not very common in Mexico. That's much more in South America. And pretty much anywhere that Spaniards settled in the New World, they brought this whole concept of empanadas because they're very easy to eat handheld treat. In southern Mexico, they always roast tomatoes before they puree them. And so what I've used here is actually a can of roasted tomatoes to create that same depth and richness of flavor. And now, if you want it, the can chipotle. You're so dry, I can handle it. You can. And they add a nice smokiness, which I think goes very well with the roasted tomatoes there. So the classic dough for a fried empanada will be a combination of flour, salt, water, and some sort of fat. And in Mexico, it's typically fresh rendered pork lard, so that's what I've got here. The nuts that are typically added to a pork picadillo will either be almonds or peanuts. And then typically a little bit of raisins will be added, or some other kind of candy fruit. And then the classic edge in Mexico is the rope edge. So that is made by sort of folding over and pressing out. And this, of course, will give you a beautiful edge, but it also gives you a very firm seal. When you walk along the wharf in Veracruz, there are all these fish empanada sellers, and they have beautiful rope edges on all of their empanadas. And there'll either be fish, or there'll be bacalao, or there'll be some crab in those, always flavored with tomatoes, just like this, but they always put a little bit of caper and olive in it. We don't use lard to cook these in, because I think it makes them a little heavy. Sometimes they're fun to eat when they're fried in the lard, but they're a little heavy. This is queso añejo. It's a garnishing cheese in Mexico that is a little bit like the flavor of Romano. Got a little chopped cilantro here that we can just sprinkle over the top of them, and they look a little bit more finished.
So phenomenally good. And that's actually good. Maybe I'm growing up. And I'm more involved person than I was. I know. These were, in fact, the best empanadas I've ever had, but since you're a professional chef and you don't make alcohol, I don't think now. So let's go to the test kitchen and figure out how to make great empanadas in anybody's kitchen. Well, one thing I learned from Rick, and that is there is no such thing as a recipe for empanada.
Okay.
So we're going to start fresh,
Right.
in the confines of the quarter large, and figure out how to make it here at American Test Kitchen so it's easy for you to make it. And also delicious.
Well, we're going to make it Chilean style, which is an empanada de quinoa. And the flavors of that are olives, raisins, garlic, really, really beautiful. It's well with beef. And I'm making these empanadas. Before I get to the beef, I want to get to a little bit of the filling here first. In this 12-inch nonstick skillet, I've got 1 tablespoon of olive oil, which I've heated until it's just shimmering. I'm going to add 2 onions, which we finely chopped. We'll stir it around a little bit. What we're looking for is this onion to soften and just start to brown. And that's going to take just about 5 minutes. I'm going to put you in charge, babysitting the onions. It's your big day, Chris.
I still don't get a knife, I just get a safe spatula. I can't cut myself.
Or me. Even more important.
Boy.
So, this is 85% lean ground beef. Now, we're using a pound of ground beef, but we can't just add it into our filling because it's kind of crumbling, almost burger-like. And we really wanted to have a lot of moisture and a lot of richness, but we didn't want to add more fat. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to make a panade. And a panade is a paste of bread, and the paste coats the proteins of the beef. And And what it does is it forms a gel around the proteins and makes them more rich and luxurious and a lot more tender. Now what I've got here is I've got one sliced white bread, just torn into quarters. And this is 2 tablespoons of chicken broth. And I'm going to mix these together until they come on page. And that's going to take about 5 seconds. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. And you can see it's definitely a pig. Alright, so now we're going to put this beef right in there. I'm going to mix it with that panade. And what this does is obviously it coats the meat, but it's also going to make it finer. So I've got 3/4 teaspoon salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to mix this together, and this time I'm going to pulse it. Well, roughly chopped, and that's going to be about 6 to 8 once I get pulses. I don't want to over-process it because we're going to do empanadas at pate, which we don't want. Alright, looking good. That's been about a full 5 minutes. You can see that the onions are starting to turn brown.
Yeah.
You can relinquish your spatula, please.
You have to sign it out.
We're going to add some more aromatics. This is 4 cloves of garlic and a teaspoon of ground cumin. We've got a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And then an 1/8 teaspoon of clove, which is definitely characteristic of the empanadas de pina. And it's not going to take long for the spices, as soon as they hit that hot pan and the hot oil, to really blend their flavors. Alright, that smells great. I'm going to put in the beef. I'm going to cook this with the aromatics. And I'm going to take a wooden spoon and kind of break this meat up into a little bit smaller pieces. You don't want giant meatballs in there. And we want the beef to completely brown. After the meat is brown, I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of that chicken broth. And we're going to cook that and simmer the beef in with the chicken broth until that mixture is really nice and moist, but you don't want it to be soupy or too loose. So, this is that beef mixture. I just finished cooking it. Put this in the bowl. In the meantime, we can make our empanada dough. So we're going to start off with one of our pie doughs for this, but we made some modifications along the way. Now this is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Now we wanted a little bit more of a heartier flavor to this than rather just a regular pie dough. So we're going to add a cup of masa harina to that. Now masa harina is basically a fine ground dehydrated cornmeal.
You make it by just drying corn kernels, soaking on water, and then it's mash, which you can use to make tortillas.
Okay.
You dry that, you get masa. Masa.
Alright, so I'm going to add some more flavors to this. I've got a tablespoon of sugar, just granulated sugar, and that's 1 teaspoon of salt. Alright, so I'm just going to pulse this mixture together quickly. Okay, so now we're going to add fat. We're using all butter here. It's a
First you
flavor.
have to smile. Say fat, guys. Say fat.
Fat,
Say lard.
large, bacon, pork.
Pork.
It is. Small ways to make me happy there, Chris. This is 12 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter because we like butter flavor. It's right into that flour and masa harina mixture. Now, I've got a couple of cups more of all-purpose flour, but I'm not going to add it in there yet. So I'm just going to pulse this mixture until it's completely blended. It's going to resemble coarse wet sand.
So this is a much leaner dough than the typical pie dough.
That's
Remember
right.
pie dough?
That's right. But you know this has been completely blended. So now I'm going to add the other 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And I just want to give it a few pulses until it's completely blended together, nice and even. Alright, so just going to dump all this into the bowl. So what I've got here are 2 liquids, equal parts, a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of silver tequila. Just going to trickle this over. Alright, and drizzle this. Now this is very similar to our pie pastry in which we add both water and vodka. But instead of vodka, we
How
have
south of the border of your British?
tequila, that's right. So I'm just going to use my hands to start to bring this together. Just kind of pushing this together so it forms a cohesive mass, almost kneading it really. Alright, well that looks pretty good. I'll put it right on my board. So I'm just dividing the dough into half. I'm going to form each into a disc. And we're going to make 12 empanadas. I'm going to cut this disc right across and then do my best to cut it into 6 equal little triangles. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap because this dough will dry out. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. We want this to get really well filled before we roll it out. It's going to take about 45 minutes. You know, you can make this up to a couple days in advance, really. So we're just going to set that off to the side for just a minute while we finish our filling. This filling has cooled down for 10 minutes, so it's safe to add our remaining ingredients there. These are ingredients we really didn't want to saute and start losing some of their flavor, so we can add them at this point. So I've got here a 1/2 cup of fresh cilantro, 2 hard-cooked eggs, again coarsely chopped, and a third cup raisins, beautiful sweet flavor, olives, this is a quarter cup of green olives.
I
which
find
is
your
coarsely
garbage,
chopped,
your toilet
and 4
bowls all over
teaspoons
the place.
cider vinegar. In that goes. Now this is a little
I mean
sweet,
candy
a little
toilet
savory,
bowls.
tangy, and don't forget to heat this. A little bit spicy too. I might not fill an empanada with this, I might just take a fork to it. That looks so good. Okay, let's cover this up with plastic wrap. We're going to refrigerate the filling. It's got to stay in there for at least an hour. You really want that to be kind of set. It's going to make it easier for us when we go to roll out the empanada. I'm going to put the dough in there too. It's going to stay in there for a good 45 minutes at least.
So let's talk for just a minute about tequila and pie dough. What's the problem with pie dough? Well, most recipes say add just enough water until the dough holds together. It's very hard to roll out because everyone has dry dough. The problem with adding extra water at the beginning is then you end up with tough dough. Extra water combines with flour to form gluten, which forms a pie dough. So what's the solution? The solution is to use alcohol. Tequila is 50% alcohol. Two things come out of it. The first is the alcohol bonds with water, which drives down the boiling point of the liquid from 212 down to about 185, which means over the baking time, there's going to be more evaporation, less water left at the end of the flaking dough. The other benefit is that alcohol and flour do not form gluten the way water and flour do. So there's less water, and some of that water is going to be replaced by alcohol, and that does not form gluten.
Fill that.
So on both counts, you get very flaky, very tender.
Alright, so it's been about an hour. Our dough is well chilled, as is our filling. We're going to get to the filling in just a minute. It's time to start shaping the empanadas. So I'm going to give you a little triangle. Take one for myself.
I got to get this into a round. Is that the...
Well, you're going to see that this dough is pretty darn pliable, and I like to start by kind of shaping.
So I'm supposed to ape you?
That's exactly right. Not sure what that means. Let's hope it's a good thing. So just into a little bit of a ball. It's going to make it easier for us to roll it out to a circle. And take your rolling pin. You want to start rolling it out into about a 6-inch circle. Really, we're looking for something that is about, 1/8 of an inch thick. And it's got this great bench scraper, and it's got a 6-inch measurement here. All right, I'm good that way. A little short that way.
Yeah, you are a little short.
Now, when you're done, put it up there. Let's take a piece of plastic wrap and cover it up because we don't want it to dry out. We're going to roll all these out. So sometime in the next year or two, when you're done,
Well, you know,
Take care of the photos.
it's like,
Good grief.
this is public television. You got to be nice on public television. They take you right off.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't tell me
It's
that.
like Food Channel. You can pull the stuff.
All right, so again, form it into a ball. Start to roll out.
So perfect circles are not that important.
No, they really aren't. So, I guess that's kind of a obtuse looking,
This is like a modern art Andy Warhol.
understand.
Give me this one. Trim it up, it'll be great. Okay, we're done.
All right, so now we get to fill some of these. I'm going to put a few of these on the board, cover the rest of them. All right, so I've got our filling nicely chilled. You can see it's definitely more cohesive. You just want to scoop about a 1/3 cup of filling, maybe a little bit less to start. Okay, so just going to put that right in the middle. You may need to scoot it up a little bit. We're going to turn this over. A little bit of water around the edge. And flip that right over. I'm going to start pressing that to seal it. Now, you got a little paring knife there? See all these little mistakes right here? You can just cut that away. They're super pretty empanadas. Okay, so just take a fork and just crimp the edges, right? Don't get too far in there, you'll pierce the turnover itself. Look how pretty.
Okay. There we are, another one.
Keep working, Chris. We've got to fill all these empanadas. It's like a factory here. All right, just finished crimping this last one. There we go. All 12, ready to bake. All right, so I'm going to go to the oven and get those sheet pans. Now, I've preheated an oven to 425 degrees. Each of those racks have got a rimmed baking sheet. Those baking sheets are heating up because we're going to do a much easier technique to cook these than frying. All right, so I'm just going to put towels on these to remind me not to grab them. Super hot. So in order to get these empanadas almost taste like they've been fried and feel like they've been fried, we're going to put 2 tablespoons of olive oil on each of these pans. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to put these back in the oven and get that oil good and hot before we add our empanadas. All right, it's been 2 minutes. I think the oil on those baked sheets are hot enough now. Now, this hot oil in the pan, is going to start to fry the bottoms of these empanadas. So I'm going to fit about 6 on each of these sheet pans. So we got the bottom, get the oil, going to get nice and crisp in the oven. I'm going to brush the top with another tablespoon of oil. And this is going to get those tops on those oven fried sheets. Quickly, back into that oven. Now they're going to stay in there until they start to get nice and brown. It's going to take about 25 to 30 minutes. Now about halfway through, I'm going to switch their positions. And I'm also going to rotate the pans 180 degrees to make sure they brown nice and evenly. So when they're done baking, I'm going to take them out and transfer the empanadas to a cooling rack and let them cool for about 10 minutes before we eat them. Right, you always show up when it's time to eat.
I never miss a beat.
They look pretty. All right. Look at that. That is beautiful. But you can see how flaky that dough is. And we'll see how tasty it is.
This is phenomenally delicious.
Really flaky.
So the secret to great South American empanadas from the South was to start with beef panada pork, and then we made a panada of bread and chicken stock. And then we used a tequila-based pastry dough on the outside because we wanted it to be nice and flaky dough. And finally, we oven fried it, which means you end up with a little bit of fried flavor, but it's much healthier and also a lot easier. So there you have it. From America's Test Kitchen, Your Kitchen, a fabulous recipe from South American style empanadas. And by the way, you can go to our website, americastestkitchen.com, and see a lovely video of Mr. Bayless at Frontera Grill in Chicago making empanadas Mexican.
I'll learn the right way.
You'll learn another way, not the right way. There is no right way, but didn't your parents tell you that?
No.
You know, I'm easily irritated in the kitchen. I'll let you know. One of the things that really bothers me is when you try to cook something from another culture. You really should stay in the other culture because the ingredients you can't find, you have to be retired or unemployed to take all day to do it, or for whatever reason it just doesn't translate well in the kitchen. This is, however, an exception.
It is.
The basic recipe is pork tinga, which is shredded pork. It's really braised for a long time. You can do it all inside. You don't have to do it outside.
That's right.
It's delicious, and Julie has come up with a method for doing it in the American kitchen that actually makes sense.
Using supermarket ingredients.
Okay.
All right, so the thing is, like you said, this is much like shredded pork with barbecue sauce, but it's Mexican style. So the barbecue sauce is a tomato sauce flavored with dried chilies and whatnot. And the method is very different than a traditional barbecue. We're going to braise the meat in a saucepan with some water so it's tender. Then we're going to shred it up and fry it so it's crisp on all sides, and then you add the sauce. So,
Keep me more enthusiastic.
I know, I love the roast. There's one of those on stage. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the roast crosswise into 1-inch thick slabs. This is a pork butt. It's 2 pounds. Pork butt from the shoulder and it has good connective tissue and fat so that it grazes really well. And then you simply cut the slabs into 1-inch chunks of stew meat, and then while you're doing that you can discard any big pieces of fat. Now you don't have to go crazy because that will render out as it's stewing. And again, this is going to be shredded up, so you don't have to be too particular about the size. So now we're going to braise it with 6 cups of water. So to give this more flavor, we're going to add 1 onion that's cut into quarters, some cups of thyme, a little bit of salt, and 3 garlic cloves. Smash them to release their flavor a little bit. So we're going to turn this on medium-high heat, bring this to a simmer, and when it's good and boiling, we're going to put the lid on, turn the heat down to medium-low, and let it go so the meat's really tender. That can take 1 hour and 15 minutes to 1 hour and a half. So it's been about 1 hour and a half, and you can tell the pork's tender when it really just starts to shred apart with the pork. So we're going to drain the pot. So now I'm going to pick up these chunks of onion and garlic and the thyme sprigs that we left. I'm going to add the drained meat back to the pot, and we're going to shred it. But before I forget, I'm going to reserve a cup of this super